Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and we'd like to call the meeting for Monday, February 22nd to order. And the first item on there is the introduction of late items. And Ms. Harrison, could you walk us through those, please?
Thank you, Your Worship. We're deleting item 11E, unsightly premises at 3251 Emerald Road. We're deleting item 11H, unsightly premises at 3677 Ross Road. We're rewording agenda item 13C, that zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 2009 number 4000.473 RA 229 to rezone part of 894 Howard Avenue from single-family residential zone large lot RS2 to residential duplex zone RM1.
Thank you. We'll now ask for an adoption of the agenda, please.
So moved.
Second. Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Adoption of minutes
I move to adopt this circulated.
as circulated.
Second motion.
Moved and second. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. We're going to move into presentations now. And the first thing I'd like to do is call on Ms. Nicole Hayward, but before she comes down, I have a little note to read. Nicole is, there's Nicole. So the City Council tonight presents certificates to all individuals, groups, teams, and clubs who through their endeavors have brought recognition on a national or international level to our city. This evening's presentation is to honor a citizen of the City of Nanaimo, Nicole Hayward, for her fantastic performances in winning gold in the International Canoe Federation World Sprint Canoe Championships. Women's canoe won the single person 500 meters. In 2009 Canada Summer Games, canoe kayak, women's canoe one person 200 meter, and the women's canoe one person 500 meters, and the Canadian Sprint Canoe Kayak Championships, junior women's canoe one person 200 meters, and the senior women's canoe one person 500 meters. This talented individual showcases the abilities of athletes in our fair city, and we are proud now to bestow upon her the City of Nanaimo recognition by way of her certificates of achievement and medallions. Well done and congratulations, Nicole, and would you please step forward? No, you have to come over in the front here, yeah. You have to really get in the limelight here so that you have to stand right over there, yeah. So this, are we on now with the mic? We are. So I'll just read this, Nicole. It says, congratulations, Nicole Hayward, in acknowledgement of your achievement, which has brought recognition and honor to our city for the World Sprint Canoe Championship Women's C1 500 meters, Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, August 2009. Congratulations. So I'll give you this to start with, run out of hands, and then we'll give you this and congratulations. Are we going to get a picture? Oops, you have to stand by one. Okay. Is it working? Okay. And the medallion, you're going to have some hardware to carry here too. And then we have, we'll unload that part, this, and then we reload with this one for you here. And there's two actually here. And congratulations, Nicole Hayward, in acknowledgement of your recent achievement winning the 2009 Canada Summer Games, C200 and 500, and then the Canadian Sprint Canoe Championship, Canoe Kayak Championship, women's 200, 500. And we wish you continued success in your field of endeavor. So, try this one again. I've got two medals here hiding there. So, you hold the picture.
Okay.
Okay.
You hold the medals.
I'll hold the medals. Okay. Well done, Nicole. Where was the second one that you received? Where was that held?
Which one?
The second one you got. The one with the two. These ones.
PI and.
And PI. Oh, okay. Didn't show it on the list there. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Nicole. Nicole, I was asked the question by council here, how did you qualify as a senior? But I think really it meant senior girls, I'm sure. I always have these people to help me whenever I don't need it, so... Okay, moving along here, we're going to into presentations. The next presentation will be from Dr. Ralph Nielsen. Dr. Nielsen is here tonight, President of Vancouver Island University, and Ms. Toni O'Keefe, maybe Ms. O'Keefe is not with us, who is the Executive Director of Communications and Public Relations at VIU, and Dr. Nielsen is going to provide a presentation regarding the VIU operations. And I might just mention to those in attendance and watching at home that what we as a city are doing is bringing forward some of the very, very positive operations in the city, and VIU is certainly among the very best and the finest. And I can tell you that under the leadership of Dr. Nielsen, it has really blossomed in the last few years. And to tell us exactly how it blossomed, Dr. Nielsen. Come forward, sir. Podium is on for you.
Well, thank you very much. It's a great pleasure to be here. I always enjoy having conversations with you individually, and the opportunity to come and present to you directly and talk a little bit about what we're doing up at VIU, I think is very important. We know that we're all in partnership, and for us at the university, we can't do what we're doing without the partnerships of all the different people in the communities that we serve, and particularly the city here in Nanaimo, because this is where our largest campus is. We need the partnerships with the city. We need to have the communication lines very, very wide open, and we need to have the kind of discussions and debate that are necessary to help us understand how we can best serve the people in this area. So what I'm going to talk about tonight is a bit about partnerships, but also about the adding value to our community and the whole notion of what the university is about and some of the challenges that we've got up there. So I'll just start and run through. I know I'm limited to 10 minutes, and I'll try and keep to that. First of all, just to give you a little bit of an idea of post-secondary in British Columbia, there's as I've got listed here, there's a lot of programs across British Columbia. There's 11 universities now, 11 colleges, and 3 institutes. So there's quite a bit of post-secondary education opportunity in the province. The thing that the enrollments are up at all of them. Everybody's really doing quite well. Royal Roads had a little bit of a blip this year, but all the schools are up, and the demand is continuing to grow. So I think that's an important thing to recognize. We have operating centers, as you know, here in Nanaimo, where our main campus is, and by far and away the majority of our work goes on out of the main campus. And as you know, we have the foundation office here downtown on Diana Krall Square. We have a high school on campus. We have the timber site out by the airport, and the main campus here in Nanaimo. Then, of course, we have Cowichan, where we're building a brand new campus. Powell River, where we've got 2 facilities, and we're selling one and trying to move all into one central location. Parksville, of course, we've got a center. We've got Milner Gardens, we have Deep Bay, we have the Payne Center up here in Wellington, so a wide variety of different activities and operating centers. Student profile, I think this is an interesting number. We always give out 2 different counts. One is a head count, which is the larger number, the 19,856, and then, of course, we look at the full-time equivalents. And the full-time equivalents are what the FTE stands for there. So when we look at where they're from, you can see the majority in that headcount number are from BC. We've got a number from other provinces, and then we have, amongst those, we've got the largest number of Aboriginal students of any university in British Columbia. It doesn't matter whether it's UBC, it doesn't matter whether it's Victoria, it doesn't matter whether it's Simon Fraser, those very, very large schools, in absolute numbers, we have the largest number of Aboriginal students. So I think that's a very important recognition for us as a school and our responsibility. We bring about 1,250, you can see 1,247 international students into Nanaimo. All the international students are here at Nanaimo. We're looking at the feasibility in other jurisdictions, but right now they're all here. And you can see the top countries that we serve. We've got about 56 countries. Students are from about 56 different countries in the world. So it's just wonderful what gets added then to this community in terms of the cultural conversations that are going on over the breakfast table, because about 600 of these live in people's homes and have breakfast each morning with some local Nanaimo folks. And it's a wonderful opportunity, again, I think, and a very important part of the cultural makeup of this community is bringing these individuals into the community, and we understand, they understand, and it's a very positive learning experience. Program profile, because we're not a traditional university, and this is a very important thing, and you'll see me mention that we celebrate that on a regular basis. We are not a traditional university. We have master's degree programs, we have great undergraduate degree programs, but we also have trades programs, and we do indeed provide access programs for people. And that's a very important part of who we are, and it's something that we won't change because it's important to us as an institution, and it's important to all of you as a community. So this is a breakdown, you can see, of the different types of programs, and just a run over. The other one I think is important to recognize here is this notion of the Elder College. This is this whole older adult population that indeed is moving to the island or lives on the island now. Very important, very intellectually active group of people that get together on a regular basis and have a wide variety of different courses and a lot of independent learning that goes on there. It's a very, very positive opportunity, and a lot of newcomers really get excited about the opportunity to be involved there. That's going to grow. That's only going to grow on this island. I want to talk a little bit about our expenditures, and I'll go into more depth on this in just a minute, but you can see we're a place that's people. You know, a university is all about intellectual activity. It's about people. And so you can see by far and away the majority of our costs are people. Salary and benefits, 70%, it's set between 70 and 71%. And then you can see some of the other costs that are there. But salary and benefits, it's key. People are key, and we have a wonderful, wonderful group of people up at the university who really dedicate themselves to student success. There's no question about that. The quality of the environment for the students is really quite exceptional. Give you a little bit idea of the tuition rates. Our tuition rates are, as posted here, they usually go up each year, and it tends to go up. Right now, the cap that's been on it is CPI. We don't know what the government is going to give us a freedom on in this next year. In terms of that rate increase, we always have conversations with the students about this. We're very fortunate as an institution that our rates are much less than some other universities. So we're quite a bit less expensive. We have a model that is an expensive model because we have small class sizes, but we also have a very reasonable rate for students who attend. Now I just want to talk a bit about sources of revenue. 49% of our money comes from the provincial grant, and that amount in 1982 was 82%, and so it's changing. And I think the important thing to recognize is that's going to continue on that same trend line. We are not going to see that. This next graph does it much more justice. You can see in 1982, the blue line there, gray line, 1982 and 82%. You look now, and we're down at 49%. In fact, that number is, if I did that chart up now, and I do it up later this year, it'll be even less than that. So my expectation is that line is going to continue. We continue to talk to the government about that number, but it's important to recognize while the percentage is going down, you look at the brown line. The brown line is the actual dollars. So the actual dollars are going up. So what's important to recognize here is that the institution does not rely solely on government money. Over 50% of the activity that we do at the university is money that's generated in a different way than generated from the public purse. And so important to recognize that. About 30% comes from tuition. So if you think about that, there's a fairly large tuition component to it well, so that gets you up to about 80%. But very important to recognize, the government is continuing to increase its funding to us, but as a proportion, it's going down, and that's going to continue. And you think about all the different activities that we're doing up and down the coast, and the different applied research activities, the scholarship that's faculty are engaged in, that money tends to come from other sources. So there's I think, an important piece to recognize. If you look at our health regions, you look at our school districts, it's a different number. They're predominantly funded by their grants. We are not. And so that makes us, that challenges us in terms of our need to be entrepreneurial, to making sure that we're forming partnerships, and to making sure that we're looking at how we can do things in a different way. So, in terms of Vancouver Island University, we want to be regionally responsive. And so when we look at the economy changing, we're recognizing that the economy, and as the economy changes, we're increasingly more reliant on educated and skilled workers. We've got a variety of vocational and academic programs, and we celebrate that difference. It's extremely important that we continue to do that. We know that there's a change. We know we're moving to a knowledge-based economy, but we also know that we're going to continue to provide the strong support for vocational programs. In fact, the numbers of students, we've doubled in the last 4 years in our trades programs. A lot of people thought, well, you're going to go to a university, you're going to change, no more trades. It's exactly the opposite. and it's very important to recognize that. So we take that very seriously and are not compromising on the importance and quality of our trades program to the people in this region. We also have seen an incredible increase in our ABE program. Students that are coming back who have been in jobs are now coming back looking for work, don't have their high school diploma, are back in. The increase in that in the last 2 years has been quite significant, and it relates directly to the change in the economy. So we have a real responsibility to ensure that we're providing those kind of supports for people who want to get back into school, want to develop a skill, want to develop a trade, or get a basic education, and we can do that, and we do it very, very well. And it's very interesting to watch the evolution of individuals who come through that program. The last thing I'm going to mention here, well, two more things on this slide, is the role of us in the coastal and island environments. A lot of our work on the coast and that sort of thing is extremely important. And then this last one, very important to recognize that we are constantly trying to be relevant, constantly trying to be responsive and innovative, but we recognize that we're working on a local base, but with a global reach. When we have that many international students and all the things that we do, it's extremely important for us. So facilitating knowledge generation, we have a lot of applied research, scholarship relevant to local industry and business, and then a variety of examples of hands-on experience for students in the communities that they live. Economic development activity. We inject thousands of dollars into millions of dollars into the local market through operating spending. Our aggregate budget now is about $118 million. As I was talking about, the employees live, invest, and volunteer in the communities. Our campuses are a magnet for others through hosting conferences, athletic, cultural events, that sort of thing. And then students are attracted to the university and live in the community for a portion of time. And some of them stay, some of them leave. But it's a very important part of the economic development activity. Environmental sustainability. We know how important this is, and we certainly have a very strong ethic relative to environmental sustainability. A number of examples there of the things that we're doing and the activities that we're involved in with students. Our research excellence, that's going to continue to grow. We have some Canada Research Chairs, we have Regional Innovation Chairs, the Centers for Shellfish, the International Sturgeon Centers, and a variety of other activities that are on the go. And this is just a small list. We could go on and on with the activities that are going on here. And then social development, I think, also extremely important in terms of our partnership with the community. Whether you look at the adult basic education that I was talking about, the First Nations partnerships, Elder College, literacy programs, the Clemente program down here in downtown Nanaimo, all very important, we believe, in terms of providing opportunity for people in the community. Cultural enrichment, we go on at length here. A whole diverse cultural layer that exists in this community as a result of the university. Whether it be faculty that we attract, whether it be the students that come and live and participate with us in this community. The other thing that's going to be very important over time is the last one on this list. Universities will be portals for immigration and foreign workers. We know that's an important need for us, and that's certainly something that we will be involved in, are already involved in. And as Canada Immigration provides more opportunity for credential recognition, the universities will be very involved in that. Some future initiatives. I talked about the budget. We have to be more entrepreneurial. We can't just rely on the government grants because we can't possibly offer all that we do with just the government grants. We got our Cowichan campus opening in the fall of 2010, trades facility sometimes next year, our Shellfish field station, probably September, our International Sturgeon Center sometime late in the year. As you know, we've partnered with the city on the Sturgeon Conference, and we're certainly increasing partnerships with Aboriginal peoples all over the island and up and down the coast. And we're very much focusing on ensuring that we can be partners in economic development initiatives and look at how we can contribute to bringing different types of knowledge-based industry into this region that can contribute to our continued evolution as a community. These are just some government figures that I threw up there so that you can see. I just got a couple more slides here. And this, I think, is important to recognize that when you look at some of the numbers, you look at 2013, 70% of all new jobs will require a post-secondary education. The need is just going to continue to go up, continue to go up. And again, we have to make sure that we're responding and are in a position to be able to provide the types of opportunities that people are looking for. We can't be all things to all people. We know that. The money is just going to get tighter. We can't be all things to all people. But the recognition of post-secondary increasingly playing a pivotal role in educating the kind of workforce that's needed for this change, I think is important. So my call to action to all of you is that we need partnerships. This partnership with the city is extremely important. We appreciate that. We want to continue the consultation and communication every way that we possibly can. I know we invited you up to meet with our board, and we'd like that to continue as much as we can whenever there's opportunities, when you're doing different initiatives in the city, when you need some public debate on a particular issue that you think is going to be useful, students working in particular situations, we want to make sure that we can help and work with you and support you. I've got a whole list of things that we do with the city now, and it's really quite phenomenal. But we want to make sure that those continue strong and that we look for new opportunities. So I ask that in this call to action that all of us continue to look at ways of collaborating, for community collaboration. Collective community development, how can we help you? We can just have a conversation, ask us. We're certainly going to ask you if we need some help. So don't hesitate to ask us if there's something that we can help you with. And this whole notion of working together for sustainable prosperity, that sustainable prosperity phrase is one our chancellor used about a year ago, and I thought it was kind of good, so we've used it a few times. It's an interesting phrase. The notion is that we have to look at sustainable practices over the long term, and we can do that as long as we're working together and identifying different things. And we've done some good things together collectively, and I think the strength comes from partnerships and working collectively. And so that's it.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Nielsen. We have a couple of questions before you go. Councillor Patchy?
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Dr. Nielsen, very much.
Thank you.
It's a lot of great information. I asked you this question about a year ago, and I think I know the answer, but for the benefit of the people here and those watching, why would you not agree to think about having something downtown campus-wise so that we can have students in the downtown area?
Yeah. It's a very good question, and it's one that we've had conversations about and ones that I've talked with other people in the community. When I look at the size of our community and look at our delivering programs, we're in our long-term master plan that we've developed for the campus, we're looking at densifying, working around a core. One of the biggest challenges of having, and we're very close to downtown where we're located on the hill, so if we were on the UBC campus, this would all be part of the same campus, right? It'd be one university campus in terms of size, as many universities are in the world, as we know. And maybe in time there'll be that kind of expansion, as this university continues to grow and be great. There's going to be maybe more opportunity, but I think not only the servicing of the students, but the opportunity for the students to have the kind of cross-disciplinary, interdisciplinary, and integrated approach to their learning. When you set up satellite campuses, what you do is you draw away from the strength. You thin out, and that's always a challenge. It's always a challenge because when you think about having one program downtown, say we've identified one particular program that we were going to put downtown and say, okay, that program's going to be there. All of a sudden, those students are isolated from the rich life of campus in terms of their ability to, take a 10 o'clock class in one discipline, move over, take another one. You'd have to develop a whole cohort piece in the one place. And there's a number of other things that we'd have to address in that our transportation between downtown and the campus is not what it should be. And we certainly need to work on that. We already know that that's a challenge, and we're having conversations about that now. And so I think there'd need to be a lot more planning and a lot more exercising to really understand what the benefits are. Right now, I don't think when we focus on students and we focus on the student success, I don't see the benefit for the students being there. Thank you.
Councillor Sherry.
To you, Mr. Chairman, you mentioned Elders College.
Yes.
What are the prerequisites to enter that? Is there an age? Is there school qualifications or whatever?
Okay, I'll give you two answers to that question, if I may, Councillor Sherry. One, our Elder College is there's no entrance requirements. You join Elders College, and I think the annual fee, I'm not right up to date on the annual fee, I think it was $35. And you pay for that, and then you can take classes. And the classes in the Elders College, a lot of them are taught by individuals who are members of the Elders College. And so, for example, somebody might have a background in geology, And so they'll do a series on geological formations of the Pacific coast or something like that. Or somebody's an expert in bridge and they'll do a course in bridge, or somebody's an expert in Mozart and do a whole course on Mozart. And so that one, the Elder College itself, there are no qualifications, it's just a membership fee. And they work primarily out of the Parksville office, but we have classes indeed in Nanaimo and the other centers as well, although not as much. The other part of this answer that I want to provide you is that we provide an opportunity for retirees or older adults, is a better way to put it, because not all older adults are retired. So for older adults to take regular classes at the university for no cost. And the age cutoff, I believe, is 65 at the moment. I know we've had conversations about 60, but what that provides is an opportunity for anybody to come and take a class who is an older adult. You can't register in the normal fashion right up front and take a class of a potentially fee-paying student. But what we do is after the class is started, and if there's empty seats in a class, then we'll open those up. And that's any class on campus. And you don't, you need to register and that sort of thing, but you can take those classes because they're classes for learning. If you're going to go do it for a credential, then we charge you. You know, if you're going to get a credential from it. But if you're doing it for the love of learning, we provide free access.
Thank you.
Councillor Kip.
Yes, thank you. From the days in the old hospital to Malaspina University to now, it's been a phenomenal economic and educational asset to our community. It's phenomenal. The people that have worked, Councillor Holdham included, throughout the years have to be proud. When they first talked about the university or the college, it was some pie in the sky, but the pie's here, and we have our pie and we can eat it too. So
Yes.
I have a couple of things. Research grants on your percentages, 49% from the province, but 2% for research grants.
Yeah.
Does the federal government kick in for things like the new thing, permaculture, environmental design, eco-village concepts, food sustainability?
Councillor Kip, it really depends. A lot of the research projects that we receive funding for from the federal government, if they're the national granting agencies, the faculty members apply themselves individually and go through a whole peer review process and then are accepted or not accepted, their proposals are accepted or not accepted based on a peer review process. So that's one source of funding. There's 3 national granting agencies. But there's also funding that we receive from federal organizations like the Canadian Foundation for Innovation, CFI. And money we receive there has provided us support for a shellfish center and indeed for the sturgeon center. And that's the fund that the feds provide 40%, province provides 40% of the BC Knowledge Development Fund, and then the university has to come up with 20%. And so there's those kind of funds that are available. Also, we receive some of the money that comes through Western Economic Diversification, and we apply for money on a regular basis for those types of funds. And we're constantly looking for funding and grants in any way that we possibly can.
Well, I'm also just, to follow up on that is just the food sustainability and security. Yes. I mean, VIU has done a phenomenal job on all their export food sources too, and it's good about that one. Now the second one, the downtown students, I totally disagree with you.
Okay.
Downtown student or a campus could be for people that work in the downtown core for business and knowledge who have a bit of a fear of running up to the college. Elder hostel, at that point, if there is, adults can come downtown, feel more comfortable in a downtown campus. So I would look to the business community on that in the downtown core where they could actually take some part-time courses, advance their own education, and it could be facilitated through the college possibly. So I just always like to twist things.
Well, that's good. No, I think the more we get pushed on these types of questions, one of the challenges is taking on more physical space when the physical space
That's where partners come in.
Yeah, that's where partners come in, absolutely. But if you look at our campus on a weekend, there's a lot of extra space up there. So running a weekend college isn't a bad idea, you know, and looking at opportunities. But is there a market for it in our region? That's the question. And so that's what we've got to be careful. And if we offer a course downtown, then does that mean that we drain the resources off of campus and then we get 2 small classes that aren't efficient? You know, so there's a variety of variables that we've got to look at. But I appreciate the push, and I think we should, you know, people should continue to push us on a variety of different issues because we don't know all the answers. And it's through getting pushed and getting into some discussions and debate that we learn an awful lot. We do that on campus. We learn a lot by our debates. amongst ourselves on campus. You know, we're always constantly challenging each other, and it's very good. It's very, very good. And the more we can get into real active partnerships in the community, and people can push us on different things and raise issues or questions and you know, be as creative as they can to think outside the box. Sometimes we can do them, sometimes we can't. But the important thing to recognize for us is that we've only got so many resources, and we've got to make sure that we're focusing those resources in a place that ensures the students are able to have the opportunities that they can. We've got to maximize that as much as we possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Johnstone.
Thank you, Your Worship. You touched, Dr. Nielsen, on the transportation issues.
Yes.
And of course, parking problems. We
yes.
realize we're going through parking strategy. How can faculty influence the students for the acceptance of the UPass? Or is that possible? I know it's been a long-going.
That's a wonderful question, Councillor Johnson. I think there's a lot of discussions, and our student union is very involved in this, and our student services leadership is very involved provincially. All the universities are now having conversations with the provincial government about UPass. It's a contentious issue, and the contentious issue comes down to the number of people who are actually using the buses now. So probably about a third of our students, not quite a third, I think is the number that I remember hearing. Mm-hmm. Yet a UPass would require that all 100% contribute. Problematic in that for many of our people who commute from regions where the bus is not accessible, and that makes it a difficulty. Mm-hmm. One of the largest riderships of our students are the international students, especially the ones that are in homestays. Mm-hmm. But we require our homestays have to be within a certain walking distance in minutes to a bus stop, or they can't be a homestay home. Because we know the international students are unlikely to have their own vehicles and are going to rely on public transportation. So we build in a restriction there in terms of the homestays to ensure that those students have access to public transport. So in our conversations with the RDN, because we've been having a number of conversations with the RDN, and we've involved our student leadership, we've involved our student services leadership, and those conversations continue to go on. When you're in an urban center, and you have the kind of transportation system that a lot more students can participate in because it catches them within easy access, then it works. But right now it is not working the way it is, and we don't have the funding to subsidize it ourselves. You know, so this would be a straight tax on the students, and it's one that our students have been very articulate about, and our student leadership has been very articulate about, and they're very actively involved in conversations. The student leadership would like to see more students using public transport. They would like to see the reduction of cars to campus, and they would like to see public transport become much more important to all of us. They very much have a leaning towards that sustainability and the conservation. But the way it currently sits, they're not accepting of that current package that's in place. And so we continue to have conversations. I'd hope over time that things can change and evolve so that we can provide the kind of support. And I know the RDN has been very good, very, very good about thinking about ways they can make it work. And they've changed a number of things and added a number of routes and tried to be able to create some efficiencies for the students. But we're still not there yet.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Councillor Oldham and then Councillor Unger.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's good to see you.
Good to
Mr.
see you,
Nelson.
Bill.
Dr. Nelson. I just wanted to follow up on a couple of questions. Several of the issues that I was going to ask about have already been asked about, and in particular the transportation and how we get some kind of support for that. Another issue that interests me and did when I was working there and from this side of things continues to interest me, and that's the sharing of both facilities and personnel. You said that, of course, the university needs to continue to be entrepreneurial in order to support its budget and its programs, its wonderful programs. I'm wondering if we are doing enough to explore the potential for the sharing of expertise in particular. There may be some facilities sharing that would be appropriate too, that would save us both money.
Yeah.
But we have, as a city, of course, as you know, issue all kinds of contracts and engage consultants from time to time and so on. Are the faculty and maybe in addition the senior students of the university fettered in any way from applying for those contracts? Could they be part of their workload, for instance? Are there ways that our staff could provide lectures on various areas that they're expert in? Or even trading off positions for a period of 6 months or so, so that they can both see the dynamics of the other institution? Any possibilities?
I think you've got a lot of different ideas in there that I think are worth exploring. I'm a real fan, and I know majority of faculty are a real fan of sabbaticals and opportunities to get engaged in something outside of their teaching role for a year, whether it be their scholarship or work with other colleagues at other institutions, that sort of thing. I think that there would be people who would be very interested in job rotation opportunities that might be available. I can't speak for any one individual, but in terms of contract work or looking at different opportunities, I think there are many faculty that would look at it. One of the things that I think is important to recognize, though, we don't have many people that are sitting around waiting to do some work.
No, I know. It'd have to be part of their
yeah,
workload.
yeah. You remember from your time up there, you know, we have very large teaching workloads.
Yes.
Very large teaching workloads. And so the faculty are very, very busy over the semester. Summertime, a lot of them, you know, and during the year, a lot of them are very active in the various scholarship and research activities they're involved in, doing very, very good work. And we're seeing an incredible amount of recognition coming to this institution as a result of the quality of the faculty members that we indeed have. And many of the staff are involved in all of those activities as well. So the challenge is looking at, well, what are the types of opportunities and seeing if there's a match in opportunity. We developed something called the Expert Ease database up on campus so that the individuals, if they're interested in being contacted externally, there's an Expert Ease database on our website that people can go into and look at. Not everybody's signed up for it because it's voluntary. I think this is one of the places where, when I mentioned the communication, talking about these things and having the opportunity to explore some of them, I think are good. And if we can find an example where there would be a swap of somebody for a 6-month period or a semester even, and we could find individuals at the institution be willing to do that, individuals in the organization be willing to do that, I think there might be some real possibilities there if people are interested. You know, and change is good as a break sometimes, right? Yeah. So I think any of that kind of opportunity we certainly talk about.
Thank you. Councillor Unger.
Thank you, Your Worship. We have discussed all the big issues and the big numbers, but I think sometimes what is overlooked in many is the local impact and what it means to the families of the Central Island area, when in the past they had to go to Vancouver and Victoria to attend university. I know in our family, 3 members have graduated from Malaspina University College, and they all have successful careers, and the last of them just began his career as an anesthetist at West Virginia University. So we're very proud of that, and that started at Malaspina.
Oh, fantastic. We're very proud of our graduates. As you know, we have our Development Alumni Office down here in Diana Krall Square, and we're starting to publish a magazine now for alumni and friends, and that is going out around the world, and we're continuing to add to our list. It's, you know, being here a relatively short period of time myself, I've had the real privilege and honor of meeting many of these graduates who come back, or I hear about them and send them a note or get in an email conversation with them. And it's, the university can be very, very proud. You know, we've got just about, next year it'll be 75 years of history, starting in 1936 with McCready and the trade school, and evolving through all those names, and then the Malaspina College, and then the 2 formed up in 71, and continue to evolve and grow. And it's really something when you think about all the people who have been through the institution and the different programs that are there, and what they're doing around the world, and how they're contributing, and the mark that they're making. And a lot of it came from the relationships that they developed with faculty here, the relationships they developed with people in this community that supported them. And now they're out, they're successful. And so those are exciting things to see, because it's a testament to all the people that have been there over the years. A common thread has been student success, focusing on student success, providing support for students. And so as a Johnny-come-lately to the scene myself, I watch this and I get excited about that type of environment that's been created.
Well, thank you, Dr. Nielsen. It's very, very informative. I think the number of questions you had to handle there indicates the interest from the council as well. Great institution, and I think Nanaimo was very, very proud of what VIU means to us, and a big congratulations to you and the faculty for a wonderful job done. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you.
Move receipt of the delegation.
All in favor? Opposed? Thanks very much. That's actually the second in the series. The first one we had Paul Sadler from Harmac came and speak to us. Now we have Dr. Nielsen with VIU, and then next month we'll have Mike Cooper, President and CEO of the Nanaimo Airport Commission, come speak to us. Okay, moving along now into delegations pertaining to the 2010-2014 financial plan. Is that something else? Maybe we'll go into the proclamations. Is that? Is he coming? Are you okay? Welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. People who know me say, "Did you fall off your bicycle?" And no, nothing like that. Just had some pins removed from my leg. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you, the council, and Mayor. Thank you. My name's Ian Gartshore. I live at 353 7th Street in Nanaimo, and I like to speak about finances. It's not usually the favorite subject. I like to talk about all kinds of other good things. But today I want to look at a broad picture, because I know you've got a very onerous task of trying to sort out what do you do with finances. And you get down to line item by line item to sort out what are the priorities for the city and how do you proceed. What I'd like to do is look at a bit broader picture and then bring it back to here, to City Council. First of all, the rate of inflation we often hear is around 2 or 3%, and that's true for all goods and services in Canada. It's also true that a lot of that lower rate is due to the fact that we import very inexpensive products from places like China. When it comes time to trying to pay salaries, which most of us are having to do in city councils and universities and hospitals, the rate of inflation is far higher. Secondly, programs and services continue to be downloaded, I think you know way better than I should, from senior levels of government to cities and municipalities. That happens even more so in leaner years, such as we're experiencing now. And so we have things like social services, homelessness. Those kind of problems end up happening here in places like Nanaimo. Simultaneously, we do not have the opportunity to raise incomes as senior levels of government do. Ours is strictly property taxes. That creates tremendous squeezes on us, on the city, on you as planners. Why the squeeze on you, on the city? That's a question I keep on asking when I read the newspaper and I see all these complaints about you can't raise taxes at the rate of inflation. Why not? Everyone else's rates are going up at least at the rate of inflation. Why not the city? Don't we not have services that we need to provide for? Not just roads and sewers and things like that, but also social services and other things that end up being put onto our shoulders? Why can we not raise taxes at the rate of inflation? Why is it that simultaneously we are given more and more responsibilities as a city, as municipalities, without any extra ability to raise taxes as senior levels government can, and yet are expected to bear the brunt of the fact that people are feeling squeezed for their incomes? Most of us have not seen rates of employment income relative to even the rate of inflation, and so I think that's why cities end up getting the brunt of it. I don't think that's fair. And furthermore, I think that if cities do accept that, and do accept lower rates of increases, then we are basically saying it's okay to give us the problems and to expect us to take care of them at, well, insubstantial amounts of income. In other words, we end up being the shock absorbers of the whole system. And I don't think that's fair to us. I really don't. So, I'm imploring to you, as a person who, myself, I'm earning less than poverty rate right now. I'm not proud of that. I'm trying to get a business started. It's not fun. Eventually, I expect to make a reasonable amount of money. Hopefully, I'm going to make that back. So maybe I'm in a better position than many people who are poor. But I can say to you that if I can't afford to pay property taxes that are at least the rate of inflation, then maybe I need to figure out some other place to live or some other way of doing it for my property. So, having said that, I want to propose something that I don't have a tremendous amount of concrete details, but I just want to throw it out there. Well, I need to make one more point before I get there, I'm sorry. That is, if we go lower than the rate of inflation this year, then next year when we have more problems with sewers and roads and things like that, and we need to increase the costs more, the next year's rate is going to be put on top of this year's rate. If this year's rate is lower, and we have to make up for that, then it's going to seem even higher next year. I think the same thing works with interest rates. It ends up compounding. And the longer we go lower in our rates, the longer it compounds and the more difficult it is for the city then to make future increases. Again, it's not fair to the city. So one proposal, one just idea, just one little thought that it goes very well with the last presentation, and that is partnerships. We can't do it alone. We need to work with lots of other people to try and make ends meet. And I think that that's one of the best things about crises, is that it gives us the opportunity to work together, to be a team. So one just little idea that I'm going to throw out there, just as one idea. And that is, we have a car share cooperative locally. There is actually a shiny red car parked right at City Hall. This car and other cars could be used by city councillors, by staff, by other people as a way of sharing the cost of transportation. Just one tiny little idea about how to shave some costs to still provide vehicles that are available, that are serviced, that are now paid not just by the city, but by all kinds of other people, to try and make ends meet. Just one possible little idea that happens to be one of my own little flags that I like waving. So I thank you for this time to speak to you, Mayor and Council, and it's wonderful to be in this new facility. I love having all these seats now that we can come and have citizens participate, and I appreciate this time. Thank you.
Okay, we have a question for you. Councillor Holden.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I want to thank you, Ian, for bringing those ideas to us. It's rare that we have that kind of understanding of the financial situation we face. And so I thank you. I just wanted to ask you a question. As you mentioned, we're heavily reliant on property taxes. How would you feel, and do you think others would feel if the city had a somewhat expanded type of tax to draw from? In other words, if we had one point on the harmonized sales tax, for instance, that went to municipalities, do you think people would find that a problem, or do you think that they would see that as a way where we could actually carry out the responsibilities that have been downloaded to us?
Mr. Holdham, I have no idea. To be very honest with you, I have no idea how people will respond to that. I do know that people are feeling very squeezed. A lot of folks are feeling very squeezed, and you raised the HST. That's another place where we are going to see more difficulties for people. It's good for companies. My company is going to certainly do well in some ways. In other ways, it won't do with that, because right now I'm PST exempt with my particular products, and so it's going to hurt. But I think a lot of people are going to find that they're going to be paying more tax, while some companies are paying less tax. And so we're going to again hear the hue and cry that it's too hard. Whether that could be used, some creative way of doing that, or gasoline tax to help support transit, It seems to me that we've got to think outside the box. We've got to go beyond just, okay, here's the income, there's the outcome, or the expenses. We've got to go beyond this somehow to be more creative and find our way out of, I think, a very difficult situation that's going to get more and more difficult, as I see it, as we go down the road. So, for example, here's an idea that I think bears some worthy consideration is, okay, if people thought that the transit system was going to serve them better, and I think it's improving considerably. I think I'd use it on a regular basis, and I think it's getting better all the time. If people would be willing to forego some of the use of their car or even get rid of a second car, studies have shown in North America that people who are able to use access public transit at a reasonable cost save quite a bit of money.
Oh, yeah.
Because cars are really expensive. In fact, for a large portion of the population of Nanaimo, I would be willing to bet that people are paying more for their cars than they are for their housing, more than for their food, more than anything else, single item. And so I think one of the reasons why there's so much pressure on the city is because people are spending more and more and more on their motor vehicles, which they believe they have to depend on. So if we can get people out of their cars, and that was a very good question to do with the university, if we can get people out of their cars so that they're spending less on transportation, I think that they would be more willing to say, okay, the city needs to pay for all those roads and pay for the sewers and pay for all the other programs that we have, the swimming pools, whatever. That's my hunch. That's the best answer I can give you.
Okay, we have Councillor Patchy.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, Mr. Garchard, very much. I have no question for you. I just have a little statement to thank you, first of all. As you know, we are on tonight's agenda, we have a third reading of the financial bylaw. And I think all of us have heard to some degree from people who are squeezed. And I know that people really are squeezed. Yep. It really is good of you to be here tonight, because very few of those people would come and say that here. And so I just want to thank you for that, because it is the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Move to receive delegation.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you, sir. Okay, are there any other delegations pertaining to the 2010-2014 financial plan? And we'll then have Ms. Harrison will want to, I'm sure, read the proclamations. If you would, please.
Thank you. That March 6, 2010 is Lymphedema Awareness Day in the city of Nanaimo. That the month of March is Easter Seals Month in the city of Nanaimo. That the month of March is Community Social Services Awareness Month in the city of Nanaimo.
Thank you very much. Moving into commission reports, Councillor Unger. We have minutes of the Nanaimo Athletic Commission meeting held November 18, 2009.
I move that council receive the minutes of the Athletic Commission meeting held on November 18, 2009.
Seconder? Moved and second, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Down into Development Services, DP 636-54 Prideaux Street. Staff recommendation that council issue development permit number DP 636 at 54 Prideaux Street, subject to cash in lieu of required on-site parking with the following variances. Required rear yard setback. The required rear yard setback is 3 meters or 9.84 feet. The proposed setback is 0 meters. A proposed variance of 3 meters or 9.84 feet. And secondly, the required side yard setback. The required side yard is 3 meters or 9.84 feet. The proposed south property line yard setback is 0 meters. A proposed variance of 3 meters, 0 feet. Any? Okay. Moved and seconded. All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Oh, sorry, Councillor Padgett, do you have a question on that one?
I did with regards to the parking, but it seems to be too late now. So,
well, we can.
Just a question to staff: where you suggest that we have cash in lieu of required parking. I'm not quite sure how that works with the place that is proposed to be a takeout place with 5, 6, 7 cars at the same time. So where do they go?
Your Worship, in this particular case, given the size of the operation, the number of parking spaces is quite small. Of course, the larger the restaurant, the larger the amount of parking, and the larger the buyout if the person that runs or develops the site doesn't have the parking on site. So in this particular case, there would be 3 parking spaces that would be required to buy out at building permit stage.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the question, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. The LA 48 application for a permanent change to a liquor license, level 2 at 170 Skinner Street. Staff recommendation that Council 1 recommend that the Liquor Control and Licensing Branch LCLB approve the application to extend level 2's closing hour of liquor service from 1:30 a.m. to 2 a.m. Monday through Sunday, and 2, direct staff to include a review of Council's hours of service policy as part of the Liquor Control Strategy Review. What's your pleasure on that?
Move the recommendation.
Moved. Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded? Okay, discussion? Councillor Sherry. Oh, sorry, Councillor Unger is first. I beg your pardon.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have no problems with this particular operator or operation, but we, at our 2 meetings ago, agreed to go ahead with a review of our liquor policy, and that hasn't been completed yet. And in the meantime, in the last few months, we've turned down 2 requests for changes in license hours, the Manzavino and the Rendezvous. And to approve one like this at this point, I think would leave us open to accusations of an unfair, unbalanced playing field, that it has to be the same for everybody else. And I would like to see that we complete the review first and then make any further decisions. So in other words, a moratorium on any changes until we have a policy set. Thank you.
Okay. Now, I have Councillor Johnston, Councillor Sherry, Councillor Bestwick, Councillor Paggi, Councillor Holdeman, Councillor Kipp. Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Your Worship. I concur with my colleague, Councillor Unger, on this. I'd like to see option number 3. And we had a very good letter from Superintendent Jeff Lott, and I think his recommendations are good. You know, it's been successful so far with the staggered closing hours, and I'd like to wait till after the new strategy. I have to take a look at the strategy and see where we go from there. But I see no reason to proceed with it at this time.
Okay, Councillor Sherry.
Mr. Chairman, the current motion on the floor I cannot support. When the individual came in for a business license or changing the license over there, my understanding was it was the hours that are currently in place. Is that correct or incorrect?
That's correct, because I talked to him.
Who's doing that?
Which was the current policy the council adopted.
Do you want Councillor Sherry to repeat the question? Or?
No, that's fine. It was for opening until 1:30, which was what council adopted as their closing policy.
So the individual very well knew at that particular time what his hours of operation was. And the corporation, or whatever we want to call it, applied for special openings for 2 special occasions, which the council, in its wisdom, seen fit to extend. And I posed the question to the individual at that particular time, and then the next thing you'll be coming in for the 2 o'clock close, and then he indicated that's what his intent was going to be. I, like Councillor Unger and Councillor Johnston, support doing the complete review and taking the whole scenario back and to review this thing, and then there could be changes and there couldn't be changes. It all depends how the report's coming. So at that particular time, I'm not going to be supporting a carte blanche this evening.
Okay, Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you, Worship. I feel the same as the 3 previous speakers as it relates to the completion and the review of the liquor control strategy, and until such time as that is brought back to us with further recommendations and a complete review, not in a position to be able to support the motion on the floor.
Councillor Patchy.
Thank you, Worship. I would support the staff recommendations for the following three reasons. First of all, Mr. Balland of Level 2 made his application for this change well before we decided to put a moratorium, or well before we decided to have a general discussion about liquor strategy in the first place. Also, as far as I'm concerned, the moratorium was strictly applicable to temporary changes and not to permanent ones. I also think it's incorrect to compare this to what we did for the Rendezvous or what we did not do for Manzavia, because those were licenses that were concerned with food, primary liquor licenses, and this is strictly a liquor license. For sake of making things equal on Skinner Street, where all the other places close to Mr. Balland's operation have the closing hour of 2 a.m., I think it's appropriate to let him have it. Also knowing the kind of business that he runs, and I'm absolutely convinced that there, as far as the staggered hour principle is concerned, that this will make no difference whatsoever. Thank you.
Okay, before the next speaker, I just might mention to the viewers at home that has joined us now at 8 o'clock. We were preempted by the Olympic Games earlier for the first hour, so now the television is back on, and we're unfortunately not able to have any of the delegations come back and speak a second time. The next speaker is Councillor Oldham.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have no problem with moving on this specific application prior to us doing a more comprehensive review of the policy, simply from the point of view that the applicant made the application under the existing rules, and I guess it should be a matter of course that he gets evaluated and his application gets evaluated under the current rules. And under the current rules, it would seem that that at least council should now consider his application rather than waiting for a report which may be some time in the making. I'd also point out that on page 41, page 3 of the supporting document, 41 of our agenda, there's a section which may be new to these applications in the staff report, and that's sense of fairness. That has been a guiding principle for me for a long time, and why I often vote in favor of an application and against the policy, because of the sense of fairness that seems to be at issue. Here, the sense of fairness would lead one to approve this application, since so many of the surrounding establishments, including the Old City Station Pub, Spice Lounge, Club 241, and the Palace Hotel, all have closing times of 2 a.m. So why would this one in the same specific area be different? The Queen's, just a little bit down the road, is also a license to serve until 2 a.m. So I'm not sure why we wouldn't act on this. The other part of it is that the staff recommendation, the second point, asks us to direct staff to include a review of the council's hours of service policy. That suggests to me that they weren't thinking they would be doing that as part of the general review of liquor licensing. So if that's something new, then to what they want to do in terms of the liquor control strategy review, then all the more reason that we should act on this application, which has come in well before the motion that I made that council passed to do a review, but obviously before any thought of reviewing council's hours of service policy. So it seems out of fairness in both senses that we should consider this application and act on it tonight.
Okay, I might just mention that I think staff's recommendation is there because there was interest on the part of some members of council to have this reviewed, and I think it was put there for that reason. Councillor Unger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I go back to what...
Oh, sorry, Councillor Kipp after that, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Councillor Kipp.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm under the impression that what staff is going to do is not a review of the liquor licensing, but only a seminar session with council to discuss what the matter is. So everybody else has talked about a review, but it's just a seminar.
Your Worship, thank you. Council's direction was for staff to bring forward and have a seminar on the existing liquor strategy. Any further review of the actual policy itself will take a budget allocation, as we'll likely have to go outside to have a consultant come in. So that's sometime after we provide a seminar session for council, unless there's some simple modifications that council out of that seminar would like to do to the strategy.
Thank you for that clarification. And just to follow up on that, we have, over my term this month, dealt with each one individually. And we always hear about having it tied individually. Now we're all of a sudden tying them in a big sack and trying to deal with them. It continues to flip around on me on how we make decisions sometimes. This type of business, the recommendations we've heard about it, it seems like it's a very well-run business, and just out of fairness, and I like that part that Councillor Oldham said, the issue of fairness and equality is hugely important to me. I can support the issue as it comes in front of us. I've said for a long time, I would like a review, and that means hiring consultants. That means spending more money. So what can I cut to get that consultant in? And I really think this needs to be dealt with tonight, and it's not anywhere close to what we've dealt with over the last issues. And we've always been dealing with them individually. And I think instead of lumping them all together now and holding this one up, we just continue to individually till we're willing to change the strategy. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Unger, and then Councillor Sherry, then Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you. I want to refer back to what Councillor Sherry alluded to. That is, when this license was granted a little over a year ago, it was on the basis of a new policy that had been passed by council that they would stagger the closing hours for any new licenses. That policy is still in effect. We'd have to change the policy if we want to change the hours. I talked to Mr. Belland at the time, and he agreed that that would be fine to go on the 1:30 closing. And now it's about a year later, and now we're seeking changes, but that city policy is still in effect.
Councillor Sherry.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I just heard that we're going to go into a seminar, and it's going to cost money to do a review. What else is new? I mean, why are we having the seminar? Because we've been identified that there's a problem in certain locations as it relates to hours of operation. So we need to take a look at what those hours, what's the problem, and is there a way of resolving that problem? We start talking about bringing in outside consultants. Well, what did we do with the last consultant that we had, and how long did it take us to pay that money to do that scenario before we started to change in the policy? I don't think the ink was dry. So I think it's important that the council, we're going to start off with a seminar, but then at that seminar, there's going to have to be decisions made. Are we satisfied, or are we going to do something else? And until such time as that decision of something else is to be done, then the policy currently is 1:30, and you start naming about these other individual establishments in that particular area. I believe the individual went into this business with his eyes open as to what's expected and what's not expected. So therefore, my position is still the same.
Okay, maybe just for clarification on that one, I think item 2 simply says direct staff to include a review of council's hours of service policy as part of the liquor strategy. So I'm not sure that a comprehensive review was planned. And I guess the question I have to staff, maybe Mr. Swaby, if you'd be able to give us an indication, is there a tentative date set for this review?
Your Worship, we're targeting the end of March with council to provide the
end of March.
Review. Yes.
Okay. We have Councillor Bestwick.
Thank you, Worship. While number 2 does say direct staff to include a review of council's hours of service, it was apparent to me that that was part of the mandate, if you will, of the reason to review our liquor control strategy that we've been working around. And so I would have assumed, perhaps incorrectly, that the hours of service in the downtown core for food primary and or liquor primary would have been a topic of the seminar or the review or the consultant's demands to come back to us. So for that point, I remain consistent. I think the 1:30 closings and 2 and so on were also structured in previous councils so that we were trying to attract citizens to reside downtown, and one of the issues was noise and different items of that nature. My question then to staff is, we're being told that the application came before or well before the choice that we made to move to a study or a review of the liquor operations that we have today. I don't have that application or the date within the executive summary of when the application was made. We do have the December 18th and 19th, I believe, was the last temporary hour extension granted. I don't know what the dates of that temporary were. This is a permanent request. And do we have the date that the permanent request was submitted?
Your Worship, the sequence, I don't have the exact dates, but the sequence, as I understand it, was that Council, I believe Councillor Bestwick made the motion, which Council adopted, not to enter into any further temporary license extensions. Then came this application as to staff in terms of wanting to make it. Then Council made a motion to have a review of a seminar on the existing liquor strategy. So I believe that was the sequence.
Your Worship, then if I may, I don't recall, perhaps it was specifically identifying temporary in the context of the review as opposed to permanent, because if in fact I think permanent is a little bit more convoluted than temporary, frankly. And so I would hope that we would address both at the same time.
No, Your Worship, you're correct, Councillor Bestwick. The actual motion, as I recall, from Council was to have a seminar session to review the existing liquor strategy. It was that general, just for staff to provide a review of the document that Council is working under in terms of a policy.
Which would include temporary and permanent hours of operations moving forward.
You're correct. Staff would provide what the document says. Staff wasn't anticipating that we would provide any analysis or any options for how you'd move forward, because we don't actually know what Council's concerns are until we, I assume, review the document with you. That may flow out of that seminar session, that Council provides direction on what they would like reviewed. And at that time, we'll have to evaluate how large a review that is and where it fits in the priorities for this year.
Well, if I may, Your Worship, and this is not to debate whatsoever. However, the reason that we asked for a review was because we were getting so many applications, temporary and or permanent, that were for entertainment purposes, for extensions of hours. You're absolutely correct. We do have a document that you don't need to tell us what it says because we can read it. So the reason that we wish to have a review is so that we can all understand what we are moving forward from the report that was created back in '04 and all the changes that have happened since that are coming before us.
Your Worship, this is great feedback for staff from a council member. I would just remind that a review that's comprehensive has to include, or I would encourage you to consider including the public, the downtown merchants, the RCMP, the DNPS. So that kind of review to give you the information you're going to require to make those kind of changes might be more comprehensive than just staff providing you with options. That's all I was saying. It doesn't have to be, but that's what I would encourage council to think about.
Well, then, Your Worship, with that said, all future applications for hour changes beyond this one won't be considered until whatever this report's going to look like comes back?
Your Worship, that's totally up to council.
That's council's choice, I guess, yeah.
Okay, Okay, thank you.
Okay, Councillor Kipp.
Yeah, there's a couple things here. Never did I think we have to hire consultants. There's enough expertise here and within the DNPS or all of our community groups, even external to the downtown core, because our problem is going to spread as our community grows. So I don't think we always need to hire a consultant. We can form an ad hoc committee and I think deal with this issue. The one that concerns me with this, are we willing to hold up business or a change in business, a minor fluctuation, while we wait for making decisions, while we wait for a bureaucratic process? Never was it mentioned that we weren't going to have any. I think the motion prior was those temporary ones, the people flipping in and out, that causes problem. The other thing that really bothers me about this, we're taking something on that isn't even ours. This is a provincial issue. We get tied up. It makes our community fight each other. People argue amongst themselves. The businessmen fight. The community fights. And we're sitting here debating it. It ain't even our issue unless we really take charge of it, set some strong policies. And I think we need a community review. We don't need consultants. There's a lot of experts of drinking in Nanaimo. And I think we can get that and use that feedback and make our decision with our brain trust. So I support the motion as is, and let's continue and actually get some meetings going to understand this process.
Okay, doke. Councillor Holden.
Your Worship, I just suggest that we vote on the recommendation separately. As mover of the motion, I'd move number 1.
Second.
Okay, well, we can get it on number 1 on the floor if it's moved and seconded. There is some further discussion yet, so let's go on to, is that, you're finished? And then we have Councillor Bestwick.
Yeah, I mean, both are on the floor now. I was just suggesting that we
vote on them individually.
Vote on them individually because there's different issues emerging from the discussion.
Okay. Councillor Bestwick.
Well, Your Worship, listening to Councillor Patchy and Councillor Kipp and so on, I would like to amend the motion to read that all liquor primary licenses in the downtown core be extended to 2 a.m.
Is there a seconder for that?
Fair for one, it's fair for the other.
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, let's get on to Councillor Kipp, and you're on here next.
Your Worship, although I understand where Councillor Bestwick's going with it to make it equal and across the board, I don't think we can say the maximum operating hours for a business, but I don't think we can predispose them to opening to a certain hour if they so choose not to. And secondly, a shotgun approach to solving our problem I don't think is what we need. We need to deal with this individual like we always have dealt with individuals and then get on with setting the solid policy. So I can't support the motion on the floor.
The motion or the... Which one, or the amended motion?
The 2 o'clock amendment.
Okay. Councillor Sherry.
Well, Mr. Chairman, why did we hire the Nielsen report, and why do we have our RCMP involved in reviewing these applications, and based on some of their recommendations, because the problems that were happening in the downtown area when everybody comes out at the street at the same time was running into difficulty. So here we're going to go say to heck with that expertise, especially from the RCMP and their problems as it creates to enforcement within the community. I know there's frustration that you have 2 sets of rules or 1 set of rules, and the current policy right now is 1:30. Mr. Chairman, I think we're foolhardy in trying to expand everybody down.
Okay, well, we've got 2 more speakers. We do have an option. Do we want to refer this back to staff, or do we want to keep going around and around in circles? I cannot support across the board 2 a.m. closing for everyone. It defeats the whole purpose of the strategy that's been developed over the years, and it's totally contrary to the RCMP position on this thing, where they wanted staggered hours for a number of self-evident reasons, in my opinion. Councillor Holden.
Your Worship, I think there's a certain logic to the amendment, actually. It would make things equal across the board. Sometimes equal isn't fair, but it would do that. The trouble I have with it is more technical than logical. All we're doing is making recommendations regarding specific applications to the Liquor Control Branch, and the LCLB doesn't have applications from everybody. It only has applications from this one. So we have to, as part of our role in these applications, is make a recommendation to the LCLB. And I think we have to make a recommendation on the specific application. So for that technical reason, I can't support what otherwise is an interesting amendment.
I just might make the observation, though, that if this does go through in that form, then I would suggest that every other establishment in Nanaimo within about an hour and a half will be sending submissions down to Victoria for an application and change, and we'll be back doing the same thing again. Councillor Beswick.
Well, thank you, Your Worship. Frankly, I don't think we would be doing that every time because we would have already approved it. But we defeat the purpose of the Liquor Control Strategy Report every time that we address one of these issues, because we've already got a report and we've already got our standards and the policy, and it's already established. So each and every time that we hear one of these, we've defeated that purpose. The purpose to indicate it at 2 a.m. across the board is quite simply, when I hear the spirit of fairness, this is for A-licensed establishments. I'm not sure how many more that aren't, and they don't have to stay open until 2. That's also a choice that they can make. Right now, if it's 1:30, they don't have to stay open to 1:30 on Sundays. It's a business choice and it's a business decision. So the point for me to make this amendment is simply in the spirit of fairness, equality for all business operators, so that we don't have to deal with our violation of our own policy every time that we get one. And here we are 45 minutes later. So make it across the board. And if they don't operate within the terms and the framework and the guidelines, then I suspect that they'll not be able to operate those hours. So in many ways, it's probably worthy philosophical discussion, but I think it does create fairness across the board.
Okay, Councillor Johnson.
Your Worship, there's one paragraph in Superintendent Lott's letter says it all for me, and that's one reason I'm so strong in wanting to stay with the option 3 tonight. The level 2 is a responsibly managed establishment. On one hand, it could be argued that the same rules should be applied to all clubs so they can compete on an even field. On the other hand, the establishment was allowed to open in a concentrated area of clubs in part because it was anticipated that its earlier closing time would alleviate concerns of congestion and disorder on city streets. We ask for expert opinions, and we receive them, and then we don't look at them.
Or consider them, okay?
Consider them.
So, on the amendment to close the all establishments at 2 a.m., I believe that's the motion, is it? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? So I think it's, sorry, who was in favor?
That would be me.
Oh, that would be, oh, I see. The Maytag repairman, fine, okay. And balance of councillor, so Councillor Beswick opposed, balance of councillor in favor. The motion.
The other way around.
Oh, sorry about that. This was to change the hours to 2 o'clock, and the council says no. So we'll go back to the main motion, and we're going to do them individually. It recommended that Liquor Control and Licensing Branch LC approve the application to extend Level 2's closing hour from 1:30 to 2, Monday to Sunday. All those in favor of the recommendation? 1, 2, 3, 4 opposed. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's declined. Defeated? Do you get to vote on that? she says, okay. And then we'll do the second item, which might be academic. Direct staff to include a review of council's hours of service policy as part of the liquor control strategy review. Moved, and the seconder? All in favor? Opposed? You're opposed? We have Councillor Johnstone opposed, balance council in favor. The motion passes.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman.
Your worship, I got a conflict here.
Okay.
Just a moment, Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, who's he recognizing?
Go ahead.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we defeated the recommendation to the LCLB. They're still asking, of course. So I would move that we send a statement of no comment to the LCLB pending the review of the city's liquor control strategies regarding this specific application.
Okay, moved and seconded. Okay, those in favor? Opposed? We have Councillor Sherry and Councillor Bessick opposed, balance of council in favor. The motion passes. Okay, and this is report and Councillor McNabb is absenting himself on the basis of perceived conflict of interest. And this will be a report on the public hearing held Thursday, February 4, 2010 for bylaws 4000.466, 4000.472, 4000.473, and Covenant Amendment RA 232. Staff recommendation the council receive the report and the minutes of the public hearing held February 4th, 2010.
So moved.
The recommendation.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. RA 232, I'm not too sure which one. Yeah, I'm not sure. I was going to say. Oh, he left slightly early. Okay. So now we'll deal with the one, it's RA 232 at 888 Bruce Avenue. Staff recommendation that council approve the proposed covenant agreement, amendment, which was forwarded to the public hearing held February 4th, 2010.
Move the recommendation.
Okay, and is there a seconder?
Yes, second.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. The item E has been pulled. Item F, unsightly premises, 1357 Fielding Road. It's requested that council hear anyone wishing to speak with respect to unsightly premises at 1357 Fielding Road. That staff recognition that council pursuant to the property maintenance bylaw 1990 number 3704 and amendments thereto direct the owners of 1357 Fielding Road to remove 2 derelict vehicles, a Mercury Topaz and a Ford Crown Victoria, discarded lawnmowers, discarded go-karts, household garbage, car parts, tires, bicycle parts, and miscellaneous debris from the premises within 14 days, or the work will be undertaken by the city's agents at the owner's cost. The pictures are before you of and on the screen at home, 1357 Fielding Road. Nobody in attendance?
Move the staff recommendation.
Is there a seconder on that?
Move. Yes, I'll second it.
Okay, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unsightly premises at 15 Front Street. It is requested that council hear anyone wishing to speak with respect to unsightly premises at 15 Front Street. That council and the recommendation from staff is that council pursuant to property maintenance bylaw number 1990 number 3704 amendments thereto direct the owners of 15 Front Street to remove graffiti from the premises within 14 days. The work will be undertaken by the city. Not sure what that says, but in any event, would someone like to?
Anybody want to speak to it?
See nobody in attendance for that. 15 Front Street.
Staff recommendation.
Second motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The next one, H, has been pulled. We're going down to I, illegal grow operation at 679 Terminal Avenue. It's requested that council hear anyone wishing to speak with respect to the illegal grow operation at 679 Terminal Avenue. Staff recommendation that council pursuant to section 73 of the community charter order the owner of 679 Terminal Avenue remove the structure or bring it up to standard within 30 days, or the work will be done by the city or its agents at the owner's cost. Anyone here in attendance that would like to speak to matters related to 679 Terminal Avenue?
Move the staff recommendation.
Second motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The very same thing applies to an illegal grow operation at 725 Terminal Avenue. Anyone in attendance from 725 Terminal? Seeing none, if someone would like to.
Move the staff recommendation.
Second motion.
All in favor? Opposed? And one other one on Terminal Avenue, 745 Terminal Avenue, same thing, illegal grow operation. Anyone here wanting to speak to matters at 745 Terminal Avenue?
Move the staff recommendation.
Second motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Now we have the same problem, but a different address. Illegal grow operation, 18 Watkins Street. If there's anyone in attendance from 18 Watkins Street, it's requested here, council hear anyone wishing to speak to respect the illegal grow operation there, and that council will have the same section 73 apply.
Move the staff recommendation.
Second motion.
Moved and second, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Unresolved building deficiencies, notice on title, section 5.7. It's requested that council hear anyone wishing to speak with respect to unresolved building deficiencies and marijuana grow operations for the properties listed below. We've been through some of these again, but we have to repeat it for this purpose. 679 Terminal Avenue. The second one is 725 Terminal Avenue. Third one is 745 Terminal Avenue, and the fourth and final again is 18 Watkins Street.
Move for prepared resolution.
Second motion.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Corporate Services, the 2010-2014 financial plan. Staff recommendation that council receive the report pertaining to financial plan bylaw 2010 number 7097, which appears under the bylaw section of the agenda.
Receipt.
Move receipt. Did I not say receipt?
Yes.
Oh, I did say receipt. Thank you. Was it seconded? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Community Services, College Pump, College Park Pump Station. Staff recommendation that council award the contract for the College Park Pump Station to the low tender, Nappet Construction Projects Limited, for the low bid of $845,498.99.
Move the recommendation.
Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried. The information items, and we'll move into reconsideration of bylaws. And Councillor McNabb.
I move that zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 4,000.466 to rezone 5876 Shadow Mountain Road from single-family residential zone to residential triplex, quadplex zone to construct a multifamily development.
Seconder? Second. Okay, moved and seconded. Now discussion. Councillor Sherry.
Well, Mr. Chairman, this one, reflect back to the public hearing and how many people came out and the petition and that, and there was a restricted covenant of some sort that individuals that had bought in there had the impression that there was to be no multifamily other than the duplex that was already there. And I find it kind of hard that one of the authors of the covenant that was to be put on title and their salespeople had relayed to the individual purchasers was the one that making application to break the covenant. And when one looks at the picture and one takes a drive out there on the weekend and sees what congestion and that there is on this cul-de-sac, I just couldn't support in going ahead with this.
Okay, Councillor Patchy.
Thank you, Worship. I concur with Councillor Sherry. I took a drive out there yesterday afternoon to have a good look for myself, and I just cannot see how a triplex, the proper triplex, would really fit on that piece of land. I also noted that at the lot next door to it is an almost completed single-family residence. Right next to that one is a just completed single-family residence, which all seems to fit in wonderfully with the neighborhood. Now, I know that we are supposed to consider these things on the basis of land use rather than what is there, but I'm just not comfortable with the triplex. I remember asking one of the proponents at the public hearing whether she would consider it a duplex, and I think that would probably be the way to go, so I shall not be supporting this amendment.
Okay, Councillor Holden.
Thank you, Worship. This is an interesting one because it falls within the official community plan's encouragement to densify. And of course, the densification, which Councillor Paggi, among others, has actually preferred to any kind of expansion of the city's urban base, does have costs. One of the costs is congestion. And there is this period of transition, I believe, as we densify, where there will be congestion of cars until the densification catches up to the ability of the buses and public transit and trails and bicycles and so on to move people around instead. Yeah, we're going to have crowded streets as long as everyone is in the mindset that they have to have 2 or 3 cars and they can't park them in their garages because it's full of stored materials, can't park them on the driveway because it'll block somebody, so they're parking them on the street. That's not really a problem of zoning. That's a problem of how people are thinking they have to move themselves around. So, this is a very, very mild, modest increase in density from single family, which allows for a legal secondary suite, so 2 housing units, to 3, a triplex, on a piece of property that is designated in the OCP as available for densification. So I really think that we need to think through how we're responding to this specific one in terms of the overall policies that we've adopted. As far as the restrictive covenant goes, those are contracts between private parties. The city, as we've been told a dozen times, is not a party to those restrictive covenants. And if the people within the neighborhood want to enforce that restrictive covenant, that's up to them. And we've seen examples in the community where people have actually enforced those covenants. But it's not our business. We provide regulations and bylaws of general application, and we need to ensure that that general application is followed through. So I'm supporting the bylaw.
Okay, Councillor Paggi.
Thank you, Worship. Just in response to Councillor Holden, he's absolutely correct. I do want infill and densification as much as is possible, but there are certain circumstances where what is proposed, in my view, is just not correct. When you listen to all the people that came here during the public hearing and talked about the congestion, to me the bottom line really was this cul-de-sac. If there had been proper egress and access to this property, I would be voting in favor of it. But that's just not the case. But a triplex would just stretch it beyond imagination, and that's my reason for not supporting it.
Councillor Beswick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't be supporting this either. I don't think that our OCP is, and the densification and infill is a one-size-fits-all proposition for every neighborhood and every street and every area that we have. And I think this is one of those cases where the maximum build-out, if you will, isn't suitable to the neighborhood that it's being proposed for. And with that, I won't be supporting this bylaw.
Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Your Worship. I won't be supporting it either, based on the fact all of the people that came and appealed to us for the safety of their children and the number of petitions we've received, almost without exception, all of the neighbors have signed a petition requesting that this not be passed. So on that basis, I won't be supporting it.
And I share that same sentiment too. I won't be supporting it for those same reasons as well. Question. On the motion, all those in favor? Nope. Wait a minute now, stand by one sec here. I've got to reread this thing sorry. All those in favor? We have Councillor Beswick in favor, opposed?
No, hold on. Councillor Holden in favor.
Hold it. Okay. The wrong bill, sorry. Councillor Holden is in favor.
No.
All those opposed? We have the balance of council opposed. The motion is defeated.
I move the zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 4000.472 to rezone 5040 Hammond Bay Road for single-family residential zone to residential duplex zone and single-family residence small lot zone be subdivided lot. Pass third reading.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I move that the zoning bylaw amendment bylaw 4,000.473 to rezone part of 894 Howard Avenue from a single-family residential zone to a large lot of residential duplex zone. Passes third reading.
Is there a seconder? And maybe just for clarification again, for anyone, that number C has been changed somewhat, and it is 894 Howard that we're dealing with now. So, and I think it may have been missed earlier, but we did discuss it, that change was made. Any confusion on that, or does
No.
anyone read that as 894? Okay.
Need a seconder?
Second.
Okay, moved and seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I move the license and control of the animals amendment bylaw 4923.06 to include poultry up to 4 chickens or ducks and exclude roosters within the city of lots less than 1 acre in size be adopted.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion, all in favor? Opposed? We have Councillor Unger Councillor Sherry. Was there someone on this side opposed? We have those two opposed, balance of councillor in favor. Motion passes.
I move that council rescind the third reading of financial plan bylaw 7097.
Okay, in favor? Opposed? Passes.
I move the finance plan bylaw 7097 pass third reading as amended.
Moved and seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Councillor Sherry opposed? And Councillor Patchy opposed? Are you opposed? Sorry, I'm looking at you, Councillor, and Councillor Bestwick, sorry. You suddenly grabbed yourself. I didn't know if you were voting or just expressing a feeling here. Okay.
Oh, can I get on with this one?
Yeah,
I move
so
that
it still passes with those three that voted against it.
I move the Economic Development Commission bylaw number 7098 to establish Economic Development Commission be adopted.
Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Opposed? Carried.
That's your bylaw, your worship.
Thank you very much. Correspondence. Thank you. Is there a seconder? Moved and seconded, all in favor? Carried. The delegations pertaining to items not on the agenda. Sir, did you want to come back and do that one again? You have up to 10 minutes.
What again? We've done it already.
No, he's got a different issue now. This is going to be reading a proclamation concerning Family Day. Welcome, sir. Up to 10 minutes.
Thank you very much. I'm here, I might as well do it twice, rather than have to come back and do it some other time. Thank you. I, with the help of staff, got to the bottom of the issue. I work part-time, just as an advisory role with Shore Counseling's Family Time Connections. 2 weeks ago, you had a lovely young lady who was just learning how to work her way through processes like this one to find out how to have Family Day declared a day, just a declaration that the city would declare. We've passed the date, so that opportunity's been missed. And it's because she didn't present it properly, that you didn't realize that she really wanted City Council to declare Family Day. That's all she really wanted. Got into a great debate about the merits of families and whether we should have a holiday and all those kinds of things, and financial recovery, end results and all those kinds of things. And she wasn't really prepared for that, although from what I've seen, she did very well when she was answering questions from you councillors, so I appreciate that. What I do want to say, since I had asked to come here and present on that, first of all, to say to Councillor Johnstone, thank you, because I know you were there at the event that happened a week ago Saturday. And I don't know if others managed to make it to John Barsby School for an amazing event of all kinds of speakers, workshops, musicians, entertainment, all kinds of different agencies were there, all to do with supporting, encouraging, helping families. Because basically our culture depends on good family life. And so I'm very honored to be part of that and very glad that Councillor Johnston could be there to witness, I think, a marvelous event. Unfortunately, the skies opened and the Olympics started, and so we didn't get a very good turnout. And my hope is that in the spring, in June, when we have another event, a similar event, that we won't declare Family Day, but we might be able to see some more people coming to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move receipt of the delegation.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Into question period, agenda items only.
Move we adjourn.
Second motion.
We stand adjourned. Thank you.
Right on.